Today we'll be talking about creating a shortcut to compute the factorial of a number. And this would be a good exercise also to understand the kind of programming abilities that we have in iOS or iPad OS shortcuts. I'll first run this and then we'll try to create this shortcut from scratch. So I've already created this called factorial notification. If I run this, it asks me a number for which I want to compute the factorial for. Let's enter 4. And we already know that 4 factorial is 1 times 2 times 3 times 4, which is 24. And what this is doing is, you'll notice there are two things happening. One, in the notification, I'm getting the factorial for each number from 1 through the number entered. And then in the alert, I'm getting this 4 factorial equal to 24, right? So the algorithm is very simple. You start from 1 and you keep on multiplying the numbers till we reach the entered number. That's how we compute n factorial, which is just 1 times 2 times till n. Let's now try and build this from scratch, and we'll also understand how loops work in shortcuts. So I'll create a new shortcut. I'll not, let me add a name, let's say factorial 2, and done. So now I want to be adding some actions to it. The first thing, if you notice in the previous shortcut, was that there was a prompt which asks you what number you want to find the factorial for. So the first thing is to ask for input. Let me drag and drop here. And if you see, it tells us, it asks us the type of the input. I'm going to enter this as number because we want a numeric input, and the default number. So the default number could be, let's say, what is the default number for which we want to compute the factorial. Let me write it as 6. Ask the question. So the enter the number for which you want to compute the factorial. And done. Okay, let's just run this now and see what happens. So you see the default is 6. I can enter 3. It does nothing because that's what this shortcut currently has. It just shows it just takes as an input. A quick thing which we want to do is to, let's just put an alert and just show this input number. So we put an alert, and instead of do you want to continue, you want to say that entered number is, and now we want to pick up some variables, right? In fact, this could be just, if you look at the variables at the bottom pane, it's just the provided input. Show more, does it have a title? This is just an alert, right? Let's click done. Let's try and see what happens. 3, I get an alert. I've also given the title of the alert, and I get the print message as the entered number is 3. So I could have done the same thing with the notification instead of an alert. If I add a notification, I can just put the notification here and say entered number is, and then again click on provided input, show more. Yes, I want to play the sound. Title could be just anything. You could just leave it blank, and I am writing this as factorial notification, and done. And let's run this now. Enter the number for which you want to compute the factorial 4. And if you see from the top, we get this notification that the enter number is 4, right? Now, another thing which we could have done is to use a variable. So we can use a set variable, and we drag and drop over here, and this is number, let's use something else, factorial number, let's say. So this is the number for which we want to compute the factorial. And this, if you see, is automatically set to provided input, which is nice because now you can see that there is some connection between all of these three sort of actions. And show notification entered number is, I can just delete it and I can use the variables and the factorial number. So now I can refer to factorial number whenever I want to use the number which I've entered. And this should still give me the same result. I run this, number is 4, and I get the notification that the entered number is 4. That is good. So now we've also seen how we can set some variables. And you would have now realized that we require some variables to compute the factorial. So the next thing I'm going to do is to set a variable product or the output to be 1, and I'll continuously keep on multiplying that with a sequence of number going from 1 through the factorial number, right? So I want to first create a variable. I create a variable, and let's call it output. Now if you see, I cannot really set this to 1. I cannot set it to a number 1 in this case. So we'll have to create another node with the number 1. So I'll just leave it here. I'll create another node number. This is set to 1. And now I can click on select magic variable. It will figure out that in the logical flow what could have been the number. You could have picked up multiple other numbers, but I set the output variable output to set variable output to number. And in the notification, what I can do is to just edit this and also add another line that output is, and I click on output. So let's try and run this now. Enter the number for which you want to compute the factorial is 3. You get the notification that the entered number is 3 and the output is 1, which again makes sense. So think of these as the traditional print or the console prints that you would do in a traditional programming language. So you can either do an alert, you could do a quick look, you could do a notification, or there could be other ways of showing the same. Now what we want is to write a loop. So loops are probably not as trivial as you would have expected in a traditional programming language, but they're not so difficult also. So let's pick up something known as repeat. We add a repeat here. Repeat how many times? So we want to repeat the number of times for which we have the variable. For some reason I'm not able to delete this. Okay, so I want to repeat this factorial number of times, right? And when I'm repeating this, I want to be doing some action, right? The action is actually I do output equal to output into the specific number, right? So to access the index, so in this for loop, I'm going from 1 through factorial number. The important thing to note here is we go from 1 to n and not from 0 to n minus 1. And I want to access the specific index. So where are we in this execution of this loop? So we do that by using repeat index. Repeat index. Okay, so how do we access that? Let me first try and add an alert. And I want to add an alert in this loop. And what do I want to add? So I'll show an alert for repeat index. So I don't want this. Do you want to continue? I just want that current index is repeat index. And what are the options? There is a title, there is a cancel button. That's for the alert. Let's try and see what this now returns. The number for which we want to compute the factorial is 3. So we should expect 3 alerts now. The current index is 1, so it's run 1 time. I click OK. It's run the second time, current index is 2. It runs the third time, the current index is 3. So this is good because now we get a glimpse of that the loop is working correctly. And after that, the notification that we had given. So the notification was that the entered number is factorial number and the output is output, right? So we also want to now add another calculation. So inside this loop, we want to do output is equal to output times the repeat index, right? So since we want to do the calculation, we add the calculate node here, and I just remove the alert because it is going to be unnecessary. I want to do output times the repeat index, and if you see, I don't really get output equal to output into repeat index. So I'll have to do this calculation, and then I'll have to do set calculate. What is the calculate result? I don't. Okay, so then I want to basically set the variable again. So I want to set the variable output to the calculation result. So the calculation result is basically from the previous whatever we do the calculation, output times repeat index. So that particular calculation result is stored in calculation result, and I set the variable output to calculation result. Let's try and see if we can get that variable here. No. I was trying to see if it will come from the auto suggestion also. So set the variable output to the calculation result, and if everything works correct, then we should be getting the factorial if this loop runs. So let's try and compute the factorial for 4, and you see in this notification that the output is 24 or the factorial is 24. You may want to just change the output as output to, you want to maybe write the factorial number and then the sign of factorial is equal to the output, and click on done. Let's try and run this. 5 factorial of 5 is 120, which is good. Let me see. Oh, so there was this fact also remaining. Factorial number is this. Click done. I run this. Let's try and compute the factorial for 10. The factorial for 10 is this number, which is indeed correct. We could have, let's just try and enter a big number also and see what happens. Yeah, this is indeed a big number. So I hope through this exercise you got a glimpse of how the loops can be written and how we can compute a trivial factorial like program and how we can use the different kinds of notifications or the different kinds of outputs that can be given to the user. So these include things like notification, alert, or a quick look. I haven't really shown quick look here, but I could have done that also. Okay, so I'll just, maybe let's just delete this and add a quick look. And you want to show the repeat results? No, you want to show the output in quick look. Let's run this. You want to compute 6 factorial, and the answer is 720. Both the title and the text of the quick look is the same. Let's see if there is any option to edit that. No, there doesn't seem to be any option to edit that. So hope you understood how we can write some trivial programs in Apple shortcuts. Thank you. I realized that before I end this video, I can also show a really quick way to compute the factorial using some inbuilt statistics. This came as an afterthought. So I'll go ahead and create that. So I'm going to call this Factorial Direct. It's a direct computation of the factorial. I want to first ask for an input, and I want to ask for a number. I want to ask factorial for, so for what number you want to compute the factorial. The default is, let's say, 5. I want to add calculate, and this is going to act on the provided input, which is good. And I want to see what is the computation that I want to do. I click on this more, I click on the scientific operation, and I see that there is this x factorial already here. So that is about it for this. For this particular simple shortcut, I can then add an alert or show a notification. I just do an alert that the provided input factorial is equal to the output, which is a calculation result, and I can add a title for factorial alert. And let's try and run this. I want to get the factorial for 10, and it returns me the factorial for 10. So this is a trivial way to get some of the scientific calculations that you might want in your shortcuts. Thank you.